The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. How's it going out there today, boys and girls in sporting land? Just want to jump in here real quick because I got some slightly breaking news. It's not completely breaking news because it hasn't quite happened yet, but it does lend to letting people know what's up and what might be happening in future conference expansion. That being the Big Ten and Kevin Warren, the guy who supposedly formed that loosely knit alliance to promise they wasn't going to raid the Pac-12 and the ACC, and they raided them anyway. Well, Kevin come out and made a little speech the other day at a press conference and a meeting, and had a few interesting things to say. Didn't quite say they was expanding right now, but had some interesting stuff to say. Let's talk about it. Woo! Man, I'll be glad when the college football season gets here, man. It's just the summer's dragging along. And I do like the summer. I haven't been on the vacation this year, but I like college football a hell of a lot more. And this is the outlaw of college football. That's the OCF. That's me, JPC. And today, class, I want to come in here and talk about future conference expansion once again. I know that's been an old, tired topic, but we had a little interesting comment or two by one Kevin Warren. Old Two-Face, is what I like to call him. Old Two-Face Warren from the Big Ten. Now, I was listening to my buddy John L. Kurtz. He has a pretty good podcast too. Check him out. And from what he was saying, that Kevin Warren come out and said, look, we're not going to expand right now. We may not expand right now in the next month or so. He said, but we're not going to sit here and say that we're not looking at a handful of teams. And from what another source of Kurtz has said, that's Brett McMurphy from Action Sports, formerly of the ESPN. Brett McMurphy has always been on top of things, so when Brett says something that's usually 70 to 80% accurate, Brett said that the Big Ten is considering a handful of teams, and those teams were Washington, Oregon, Notre Dame, of course, Stanford, California, and here's a couple of surprises too. Miami and Florida State are also on the radar of the Big Ten. Now, the SEC in their statement was a little more concrete in the feeling that they were happy where they were at. That's basically what Greg Sankey said, is like, look, we're not worried about it. We're happy with what we got. We're going to stand pat. Now, that's great and all, and I'm glad that Greg has a lot of confidence in our 16 teams, and it's good to have a guy that has some backbone and is pretty confident in what he says. But Greg, I would like to say this: if they're going after Miami and Florida State, well, then that means the Big Ten is going to have markets everywhere, not just out west, but now they're talking about dipping into the South. And the whole grant of rights thing with the ACC is becoming apparent each and every day that there's a way out of this. All they got to do is get half of their teams to leave the conference, and the grant of rights thing goes away. So if they can get Miami and Florida State to agree to join their conference, and then the SEC comes along, which they said they were not, and decides to take some teams from that conference as well, then the grant of rights thing can go away. But until then, the Big Ten's got a lot of money, so they might be able to buy off that expensive price tag for Miami and Florida State, because that grant of rights is like all the way to 2036. So I'm imagining that price tag is pretty steep. But back to the West. The only reason they're going after Stanford and Cal, in my estimation, is probably because of academics, because they still want to put on this facade like they care about academics, when all this is about sports and money. Now, they can say what they want to say, and they can throw out that AAU crap all day long, but I'm just not going to buy it, man. I know people have been on me about that, trying to get me to buy into that, and realize that, hey, this is still about academics. Just not buying it. I don't buy it, man. They're doing it because of the Bay Area. Stanford and Cal are in the San Francisco Bay Area. I don't know why anybody would want that area, but anyway, that's another topic for another day. But right now, that's the way it stands. I mean, the Big Ten is not quite done. They said that they will consider expanding with a handful of other teams in the future, and that doesn't bode well for the Pac-12. That right there tells me that Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado better get their shit together and join the Big 12 while they can. Instead of waiting around for someone to do it to you, then you need to take action. Kevin Warren even spoke on that. Kevin Warren said that the problem with them is they sat back and they waited on the SEC to make a move each and every time, and then they would have to expand after. He said they wanted to get ahead of the curve because, last time the SEC expanded, before this last time, it was Texas A&M, Missouri, and the time before that was Arkansas and South Carolina. And each time the SEC expanded, what happened? The Big Ten expanded, right? So they're trying to get ahead of the curve on the SEC before the SEC makes a move, probably on the ACC. And I think that they probably will go after Miami and Florida State if they're wise. I mean, that'll get them down in the southern market, which they've been wanting to do for a while. But those teams out in the Pac-12, they need to go ahead and join the Big 12. Now, Washington State and Oregon State, people are saying you're forgetting about them. I'm not forgetting about them. Everybody else is. Washington State and Oregon State, because over a course of history haven't been very good, more than likely they're going to be left out of this deal entirely. And more than likely they'll be joining the Mountain West Conference, in my opinion. But it doesn't look like the Big Ten's really done. Like I said, he didn't come out and say it. He sort of hedged around it like a good politician does, or a bad politician does, and Kevin Warren, Mr. Two-Face. Mr. Two-Face is probably still in the market to get some more of those Pac-12 teams, and maybe even some Southern teams. So, Pac-12 beware. SEC needs to beware as well. And with that, I'm going to get off of here. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And as always, KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now dismissed.